Did you come on this podcast specifically to try to get me to interview Trump?
No, you brought up Trump multiple times. I never brought it up.
It seems like you did. I think you did.
I could tell you, Joe, don't go live with this podcast and keep it until after you do Trump's interview, and then say, Pat told me don't do it, and then they're going to release this, even if it's 3 months from now. I wouldn't care if you did that. Your guy's support, I respect. I love the work you're doing. I'm talking to you as if the camera's not on right now. Don't go live with this. Go live a week after Trump. And we can date it right now. We can show the phone. It's 3/12, August 2nd, Wednesday. Okay, here's camera. If you don't go live with this until after Trump, I don't care.
Well, I'm going to go live with
I'm
this.
just saying to you, from my perspective, what I'm trying to tell you is I don't want you to think there is my purpose of being here in Austin. I've been working on a gift for you for God knows how long, which at the end of the podcast, when you said we're done, I'll show you, a couple of these gifts. One of them took us a while to get. I came here because, as a Middle Eastern, you're opening up a comedy club. We talked, you dreamed the way you build it. Everybody, tells me I got to go. I'm like, dude, I got to go, but I don't want to go empty-handed. So I came here to give you gifts. Then you said, if you're here, let's do a podcast. And I said, no problem. Let's do the podcast. So now we're here. I'm going to give you the gifts, all that stuff. No one's here with a motive. The motive is, as a friend, as a guy that's in the same space as you, and you're the Michael, you're the Brady of the space, I'm encouraging Michael and Brady to consider this. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll consider it.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Thank you.
All right, guys. So we got to talk about Patrick Bet-David going on Joe Rogan's show and doing God's work. And I want to say this about Patrick Bet-David before I get into this. This is a guy that I want to be like when I grow up, right? When people say, who you want to be like when you grow up? I got to tell them, Patrick Bet-David, because this guy I have so much respect for, right? In regards to his business acumen, his opinions on politics, his ability to see through the mainstream liberal media narrative. Again, he's just an all-around great guy, okay? He's built a great company with Valuetainment and other great ventures as well, too. He's an excellent businessman. Again, I aspire to be like him when I grow up, okay? I'm just saying. And that leads me to this interview that he's doing with Joe Rogan, where he goes on the show and he presses Joe Rogan on why won't he bring Trump on the show, because there has been news in the mainstream liberal media that Joe Rogan has repeatedly denied Trump's request to come on the show. Trump wants to come on the podcast. However, for whatever reason, Joe Rogan doesn't want Trump to come on the show. Okay, and Patrick Bet-David is going to press Joe Rogan on this, and I think this is fair because Joe Rogan has a tendency to bring on Democrats, and he brings on some Republicans as well too, but he will platform Democrats running for president, like, for example, Andrew Yang, RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, who was a former Democrat, but still, he'll platform those people, and some Republicans, but he doesn't really seem to want to platform Trump, maybe because, he's not a huge fan of Trump. But regardless, I got a problem with it, right? I know I can't control Joe Rogan's platform. It's his platform, not mine. So, ultimately it's his decision. But I got to give credit to Patrick Bet-David for seemingly convincing Joe Rogan that, hey, he should bring on Trump. So without further ado, I want to react to a little bit of this interview because I think Patrick Bet-David here is doing God's work. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
You having Trump on?
I don't know.
Okay. The look,
I don't know. Maybe.
Looks like you got something.
Maybe.
Okay, good. That's good. I think that's...
Look, at a certain point in time, it's just like, it would be interesting to hear his perspective on a lot of things. I would like to know, what is it like when you actually get into office? I would like to know things like, what is it like versus perception?
Yeah.
What is it actually like when you get in that building? Like, what are you greeted with? When do you know that people are fucking with you? When do you know that the intelligence agency is lying to you? Like, when you decided to fire Comey, what was the thought? How much did you know? Like, what's the machine like?
And this is why it's important for somebody like Joe Rogan to have Trump on his platform to ask these questions in a long format, right? I mean, because everybody wants to know the answer to these questions, Joe, and you're the only person in the mainstream liberal media or really the conservative media, really, again, in alternative media that will ask these types of questions, okay, that has the biggest platform in the world that can ask these questions, okay, you've created your brand asking these types of questions. For whatever reason, he knows that, hey, I'm very curious about this stuff. You have the ability to get these answers, but for whatever reason, he just doesn't want to pull the trigger on it. It is extremely frustrating.
What is the deep state really like? Really like?
Everybody wants to know.
We have all these, smoky room perceptions, like from the Bill Hicks joke, where they show you the Kennedy assassination from an angle you've never seen before. What is the machine that runs this country? Because it's very clear that it's not as simple as elected representatives that are doing the will of the people. It's not.
It is the unelected bureaucracy that I think that Vivek Ramaswamy talks about a lot. The managerial class, okay? The people that, again, are behind closed doors. We don't know about them because, again, American people didn't elect them. They're part of the administrative state, right? Yeah, those are the people that actually run in this country. Not the elected representatives. Again, if you want more proof and evidence of this, I mean, just watch the UFO testimony. Not that, I believe or I know for sure that, the government has UFOs or whatever, but I think the main takeaway from it is that apparently, allegedly, there are things that the deep state, okay, or again, the managerial class, the unelected bureaucracy is hiding from the politicians. They can't even tell the politicians, the people that are supposed to be running the country. Okay, there are things that even the president of the United States doesn't have access to in regards to information, apparently. I don't think that's a good thing, right? I don't think that's a good thing, okay?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing you and Trump together.
You keep pushing that.
I think, okay, I'll tell you from my perspective, on why you ought to consider it when you do it. I'll just give you my,
okay.
Just so you know, he and I don't speak, it's not something that is like, hey, his camp saying go in there and do this and do that. No, I've never interviewed the guy, so it's not like I'm, lobbying for it. But I think if, when you think about sports or you think about fights, what is the boxing world if Frazier Ali never happens, right? What is the UFC world if DC John Jones doesn't happen or Khabib Conor doesn't happen? And they're both at their peak and those fights don't happen. We can go on with sports, with baseball, with, interviews of Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jackson. You go look at, some of these things that happen with Larry King or her and, a bunch of different guys. He's a guy that's probably the most misunderstood by a side. And a guy that
how do you think he's misunderstood? In what way?
I think the media has really painted this guy to be evil. I like to talk to people I fully disagree with, and I think they're delusional in certain areas to understand what makes you believe what you just said.
Right.
I don't understand what you just said.
Right.
Tell me how you could be that convinced you're right. Right.
Right.
Cenk was on the podcast yesterday, and Cenk is convinced he's a better businessman than Trump.
Which is ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous for him to even say that. But again, a lot of these people on the left are downright delusional. And they have been blinded by their hatred for Trump because they believe he's the Antichrist, right? And they come out here and they believe all types of crazy stuff like, Cenk apparently believes that he's a better businessman than Trump, which is just, it's very far-fetched, right? I'm sure TYT isn't doing that well financially. Maybe they are, because allegedly they have liberal media donors who are backing the platform, right? So who knows? I don't know, but I'm just saying, I don't think Cenk is a better businessman than Trump. And again, it proves that he is delusional, right? He's off his rockers for him to even believe that.
How could you say something? But he's convinced. And he says, no, he's a loser. Trump's a loser. I said, dude, what do you mean there's only two things he's won in his life? I said, there's only two things he's won in his life? Yes. Yeah, there's only two things he's ever won in his life. And this is the second time Cenk and I having a conversation together. Politically, we're on very different sides. I'm just trying to find out, why do you think this way, right? And he says, yeah, only two things. He's a great marketer, and he did this. I said, first of all, 15 years, apprentice. Good luck. Go do. No, he had great producers. I don't care if you have the greatest producers in the world. You can hire any producers Joe has and go try to match Joe's numbers with podcasts. Yeah, because it's his producers. No, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, but also him having great producers is a testament to his ability to pick the right people to produce the show, right? I mean, one of the things that make great businessman is not necessarily their knowledge of a specific, industry or whatever, or even their own expertise on certain subject matter. It's their ability to pick people who have the knowledge and expertise needed to run a certain aspect of a business. It's their ability to delegate, right? That is a part of what makes, certain businessmen great businessmen. They don't necessarily have to specialize in a lot of the things that, they're into, but they have the ability to pick great people who are going to make a great production, right? Elon Musk is in a ton of different industries, right? I'm pretty sure he's not an expert in social media, but he can pick people who are experts, who do know what they're doing, right? And have them run it, okay? I'm just saying, I mean, this is not a hard concept to grasp.
15 years. Book, how many years does Art of the Deal does? Well, yeah, but Pat, imagine if you started with $430 million. You would have been richer than him today. I said, $430 million. What's this $430 million? He got $430 million. Are you like counting in today's money versus, well, it's estimated this. Okay, he got $1 million, he got $14 million, no problem. He got family money. I'm willing to make the case that you are more likely to screw up your life if your family gives you money. He says, what do you mean? Yeah. I said, so I went and studied. I got 4 kids now. We're going, we've done estate planning multiple times, but now I just sold the insurance company. So I have to sit there and see what am I going to be doing with some of this money that came out of nowhere? Goldman, Morgan, estate planning. Do we do this? Do we do that? Let's go study it. We put our research team, go find out who did it right out of all the families. Okay. The Medici family, 7 generations, they kept the wealth within the family. What are they doing? And boom, 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 boom. Great. Vanderbilt family, the money lasted 1 generation, maybe 2. Like when, Anderson Cooper's mom's like, look, we're Vanderbilts, but you ain't getting nothing. You got to make your own money, right? Okay. The Rockefeller family, they're at 3 or 4. Okay. We can go through all these families. Most of them that get a lot of money, the kid becomes a what? Drug addict, drug dealer, spoiled. They don't work. They're not this. They're not that. Right. Okay. So let's just say he did get the money and he still doesn't do drugs and he doesn't do alcohol and his vice is women and he works his ass off in business and he makes it where he makes it to. Yeah, it's very easy to make the argument that actually if you do come with money, it's a harder life than a person that doesn't get money, to have that drive and ambition. Not necessarily it's a harder life to have that fire, the ambition that, you can't teach that. You either got it or you don't have it, right? Okay. So then we go into politics. So let me get this straight. This guy wins in New York. He becomes a billionaire. He wins on TV. He's won with women. He's partied with everybody. In 1988, he's doing an interview with Oprah Winfrey, and Oprah Winfrey says, hey, you sound like you're going to run for office. No, I have no interest, but if I ever did, I'd win. Okay. Then he runs. Everybody thinks it's just a marketing deal that he's doing. And then when he wins, I don't know if you remember when he walked on, he's like, even him himself, they were kind of like surprised. Babe, we just won. Right. And the day before, the odds were if you bet $100, you'd have to bet $350 to win $100 on Hillary. But if you bet $100, I think you win $550 with Trump or some number like that. The underdog won, the greatest underdog of all time of politics, right?
Yeah, and that's why Hillary's so salty about it, right? Because she thought it was in the bag. Okay, she thought she was going to be the first female president. And this is why she hates Trump. That's why she can't stand Trump, is because Trump literally took away her hopes and dreams, right, for what she thought she was entitled to. I mean, it's probably one of the most glorious moments in U.S. history. I'll never forget that night, right? I will never forget that night.
Okay. So let's fast forward 20 years from now. Let's go to 2043. We're doing a podcast. You're 75. Okay. I don't know if you're doing podcasts, but that'd be one hell of a podcast at 75. And maybe we feel a little bit more comfortable coming out at that time because we're traditionalists, we're older generation. Then maybe we're a little bit more careful about what people think about us right now. But at 75, we look back and we look at the list of podcasters. Who are the greatest podcasters of all time? Joe Rogan at the top, GOAT. Who's the greatest this, that? And he's like, dude, but he never interviewed that guy Trump. I'm going to be like, what are you talking about? Wait, let me get this straight. The greatest podcaster of all time never interviewed Trump at a time that he didn't do that? Dude, that's crazy. I don't believe it. What?
It would be an asterisk on his legacy, right? It would be bad for Joe Rogan's legacy if he doesn't interview Trump. You have the biggest platform in the world. The mainstream liberal media, I mean, they literally attack Joe Rogan because they're envious of his platform. They're envious of the amount of viewers that he has. And with that platform, in my opinion, Joe Rogan has elevated Democrats. He's literally made people like Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang would have no shot. He would have had no shot if it wasn't for Joe Rogan, right? And during a time like this where you have the president of the United States being politically persecuted by his political opponents, Joe Rogan is deciding, I don't know if I should interview the guy, right? I don't know if he should come on. I'm not sure if I should let him tell his side of the story. I mean, this is, again, it is an asterisk on Joe Rogan's legacy, right? I kind of agree with where Patrick Bet-David is going here.
Why not? It had to be personal. It had to be this. So to me, I think the guy that's going to interview him in a way that nobody else is going to interview him, you're going to ask some questions that you want to know about. Like, hey, what happened with JFK? Are we really going to find out? Can you commit to us? Are you going to come out with the files or no? So I really want to know. Last time you said you did, but you only gave us 80%. Are we going to get the other 20%? Aliens. What the hell is going on with these aliens?
I was just thinking that, right? Again, things that Joe Rogan, he talks about all the time. Who's the perfect person to interview for that type of stuff? Trump, right? Again, especially during a time like this with the UFO stuff. Come on. You got to get the former president of the United States on the platform. He's probably the only sitting president or former sitting president that would be willing to come on the platform, right? Because we know Democrats who, Joe Biden, Obama, establishment Democrats, they're never going to go on a platform like Joe Rogan's and face that type of questioning. I'm just saying. I mean, I know he wants to interview Trump, but there's something keeping him from doing it. I'm not sure if it's Spotify. I'm not sure exactly what it is. There's something keeping him from doing it because apparently Trump's camp, they've been really trying to get up here. They've been really trying to get on Joe Rogan.
Are we going to know or no? Can you give us a glimpse? Do you think we should know?
I don't think he'd tell you anything about that.
But what I'm saying,
I think that would be a waste of time.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is whatever angles you choose to take.
Right.
Okay, it's your show. You get to take whatever angles you want to take. I think it'd be very weird to look back. There's going to be no mainstream media 20 years from now. You know that. I know that. To look back and say Joe never interviewed Trump, that's kind of weird. So that's my pitch to you.
Good. I like weird.
You like weird? I
like things that are weird.
I don't know about that.
And this is why Patrick Bet-David is a legendary sales guy, right? A legendary sales guy. Okay? He just basically pitched Joe Rogan on interviewing Trump, right? In the most salesy way possible. Okay? I love it. Right? I love it. Again, the people that I have respect for the most in business are sales guys. Okay? And the reason why is because it truly does take real hustle and drive to be successful in sales. So I have more respect for those guys than anybody, okay? Because that really is about hustle and hard work, right? Just outworking your opponent. It's not something where, you're ahead because you were born with it, right? You were born with some wealth or because you have superior intellect. No. It's literally just drive and work ethic, right? I love it.
I think one.
Why don't you interview him?
Why don't I interview him? I think if I give you my assessment on why.
Have you ever tried?
I'll give you my assessment on why I think.
Okay.
I think if he's him, okay, you're here, Joe. Everybody else is below you. In this space, not mainstream. In mainstream, he'll do Tucker. He'll do, Megyn Kelly, whatever. I don't know if he's done Megyn Kelly. He hasn't done it yet, but he'll do Tucker. He'll do Brett Baer. He'll do Hannity. He'll do all that stuff. But in this lane we're in, you have to do you first. Then comes everybody else. He can't do that.
Well, he did the Nelk Boys, right? I'm not sure if they're mainstream or what. I mean, I guess they are alternative, right? I mean, like the Nelk Boys, I'm sure he would do Rogan, right? And, I guess Patrick Bet-David is basically arguing that he would have to do Rogan first, or it would make more sense for him to do Rogan first before he does, I guess, Valuetainment or the PBD podcast.
So I think we come after you come. If I'm his advisor, I would advise him, you can't go to anybody else unless you go to Joe first. And I'm telling you, from a perspective of if I'm his counsel, I would say you go to Joe, then you go XYZ. Everybody else is XYZ Joe. You're Joe. Everyone else is XYZ. Okay? And I think he knows that, and I think the person in control right now is not him. It's you. Like the person in control with Hunter is Hunter's camp, not you. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Hunter, no, Joe, whoever gets to say no, they're in control.
Right.
So, but from your perspective, what's going on in America today, I would say if you don't do the podcast with him, you're helping the establishment and you're helping a guy named Joseph Biden.
Facts.
I think you're helping that person.
Facts. He is.
That's kind of weird.
He is.
But indirectly in your mind, you're helping Joseph Biden win by not interviewing Trump.
Did you come on this podcast specifically to try to get me to interview Trump?
No, you brought up Trump multiple times. I never brought it up.
It seems like you did. I think you did.
Yeah. I'm just saying. Hey, shout out to PBD, right? He's asking the tough questions of Joe Rogan that I had because I've stated this multiple times. Yeah, I kind of got some issues with Joe not doing it. I get it. It's his show. I'm not forcing him to do it. But I think you should do it, right? Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.